citizen survey questions. Russ, you want to lead with that?
Yes, absolutely. If Lori will throw up the 2018 citizen survey real quick. I just want to introduce to council that every 2 years, the city has gone out and done a scientifically accurate citizen survey to really gauge satisfaction levels with city services, perceptions, and so forth of all aspects of the city. And the purpose of this is really twofold. It's to get a reading of the pulse of the city for what the residents are feeling is most important to address. So you see a lot of these, which three of the items on the list do you identify as the most emphasis that needs to be placed on it over the next couple of years? It's very helpful. It really helps inform us, particularly going into a strategic planning session that we'll be entering into this summer on July 22nd and 23rd at the Performing Arts Center. It helps inform us for how to best address the needs of the citizens of the city, and where we need to focus our funding and our budgeting and so forth. So some of these questions, virtually almost all of the questions, are similar in each iteration of the survey, so we can compare trends. So we see whether satisfaction levels are getting better or worsening on different aspects of city operations. But we also have some discretionary questions that we can put in there, usually about 3, maybe 4, that ETC, which is the company that conducts the survey for us, leaves available to us. And Lori, if you'll go down to questions 14, 15, and 16, I believe it is. Yeah, keep going, one more. Yeah, 15, 16. Those were the discretionary questions from the 2018 survey concerning filling gaps in the sidewalk system and whether mature public trees should be removed in order to improve public access and connectivity within the city for transportation. Those are helpful in informing, a philosophical approach to our infrastructure issues that we deal with in the city. So, all right, Laurie, if you could put up the proposed community survey supplemental questions. Staff has identified 3 questions that we feel could be very helpful to us at this point in getting some input from the citizens directly. And those are these 3 right here. And these are conceptual questions. They haven't been drafted specifically as they would appear on a survey. Of course, City Council hasn't seen or approved them. So just think of them as concept right now. But how often in the past 12 months have you shopped in downtown Kirkwood? I think that really helps us gauge, especially on an ongoing basis, if we could do this one a little, to create trends and so forth, to see if our downtown is a magnet for our own residents. That's one of the things we really could be helped with. And how often have you dined in downtown Kirkwood? Also, a very helpful identification for us as we look at possibilities in the future is, in the last 12 months, have you dropped off recyclables at our recycling center, the Francis Scheidegger Recycling Center? That will inform us as well as to the use of our own citizens of our amenity there, because of course we do provide recycling at curbside. So whether there are a lot of citizens in Kirkwood or what percentage are actually using it, it's very difficult to tell right now. I mean, we know how many people go through there, but we're not really clear on whether they're all citizens of Kirkwood or people are coming up from Crestwood or other places. So this could actually help inform us as we look to plan for the future. Now, the purpose of today's meeting is to get clarity from council on really these three questions, if you think they're worthy of inclusion in the survey, or if you have one or two that you might want to suggest. We do need to solidify these fairly soon, in the next couple of weeks, certainly, to get to the surveyor, so the survey can actually be completed before school is out and people leave for the summer and so forth, assuming there'll be some traveling this year, unlike last year. But, and also we'll be able to have the results back before our strategic planning session in July. So that's a quick overview. I'm glad to hear from council on your thoughts on these three, or if you have suggestions for something you would like to have citizen input on.
Thanks, Russ. It's funny, you read the first two and it's like, I mean, we just assume everybody who lives in Kirkwood shops in downtown Kirkwood. Assume everybody who lives in Kirkwood shop and goes to restaurants. And I think those are interesting questions that we might think we know the answer, but I think those are ones that'd be nice to have some data telling us what the answers are. And I think the third one's a good one too, to get an idea of the usage of Kirkwood residents of the recycling center. So that's my thought. Let's see, Council Mark, we see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think these are good questions. I would maybe suggest or ask to reword the third question similar to the first two and saying, how often in the last 12 months have you dropped off recyclables? Maybe to get more of a specific answer versus just a yes or no.
Okay, if that's possible. Sometimes it's, yeah, you can leave them open-ended. Sometimes, I believe we could do that with this one. We can talk with ETC about having an open-ended response on that. No problem.
Yeah, I think the data that we'll generate, saying yes or no, but if they say if you find a majority of your residents only go twice a year, or they may go twice a month. So I think
mean, we could frame that in how often, 0 to 3, or every month, every 3 months, more than once a month, that type of thing, and have 5 choices.
Sure. Just to get some more detail on that.
Yeah, I think we might be able to work that one out. Yep.
Great. Thank you, Russ.
Thanks.
No problem.
Maggie.
When will this come out?
When will it be submitted to the citizens, or when will the results be submitted?
When will it be submitted to the citizens? I'm sorry.
That would probably be in late April, early May. It'll be early May to mid-May, I think, if we can get this done in mid-April.
I think the first two are going to be, personally, the first two, I would say 0 on both of them. Any other year would be a very different answer.
Yeah.
So I don't know how valid a survey we're going to get from especially the first two, considering the last 12 months.
That is a good, Maggie, I never thought of that.
I mean, I'd put 0, but years before and years after would be a very different answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's valid consideration.
Yeah, that's very.
So I would have more than 0. The second quarter of last year when everything was shut down, but a lot of places open and we still shop in downtown, late summer, fall, winter as things kind of opened up a little bit.
I understand that, and I'm probably unique in many ways, but unique in that way. But I'm not sure it would be the same as it was 12 months before and 12 months after.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a different year. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
Liz?
A couple of things. I know the Citizens Finance Committee made 1 or 2 recommendations that should be on the survey. Is that in there, Russ? Whatever their recommendations, I can't.
Yes, their recommendations regarding police satisfaction and couple others were already in the survey.
Okay,
So they didn't actually identify, and we can double check on that, but I believe that all of their requests were already covered in the survey as it is.
okay. And the other thing I was wondering about is, are there any questions in there about biking in Kirkwood? And it seems like something maybe we should.
I believe there are questions about bikeways. Hang on one
You
second.
know, Russ, I have to interrupt you.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I apologize, Liz, we're at 6:57, and I think Maggie's points about downtown, and I think we probably need to take a look at this again and maybe put it on for next week, if that's all right. Liz, if we can hold that, if you don't mind.
Sure, no.
If I could suggest, Mayor, that maybe council send me their ideas over the next week, and we can try to frame up some questions.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that would be good. All right.
Thanks, Russ.
No problem.
All right, do we have anything else from council before we adjourn? All right. Then with that, this meeting is adjourned, and we'll ask everyone to turn around and get on the regular meeting here in a minute. See everybody in a minute.
You got it.
Pledge of Allegiance will be recited by Councilmember Dewey.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Maggie. Roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin.
Here.
Councilmember Dewey.
Here?
Councilmember Zimmer.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Wirtz.
Here.
Councilmember Gibbons.
Here.
Councilmember Sears.
Here.
Thank you. Yeah. City Attorney Hessel, would you enter a statement in minutes about meeting remotely?
I would, Mayor. As the notice of this meeting reflects under section 610.015 of the Missouri Sunshine Law, members of the City Council are not physically present in council chambers can participate and vote on all matters when an emergency exists and the nature of the emergency is stated in the minutes. So again, let the minutes reflect that unfortunately we are still in the state of this pandemic. Hopefully we'll be out of it soon, referred to as COVID-19, and the City Council is meeting remotely for their own safety as well as the safety of the general public.
Thank you, John. We have a few presentations tonight. Is Carol Rush on? Do we know?
I don't see her in the participants list, Mayor, but I did send her an invite, so I'm not sure if she's just running late or what.
Okay, no, that is fine. This is April, so it's Arbor Day month, so to speak. So, and Carol is the chair of the Urban Forestry Commission. But I'm going to go ahead and read our Arbor Day proclamation. Whereas Arbor Day is held every year in Kirkwood and is designated for planting trees. Kirkwood is known as the Green Tree City because of its vast number of trees and park areas. Trees have always been important to Kirkwood. As early as 1870, residents were concerned about the appearance of the community and established a program for beautification, which has remained a characteristic to this date, due in large part to trees. The annual Green Tree Festival has been a highlight on the city's calendar since 1961, excluding last year, and let's cross our fingers for this year. This festival was initiated due to residents' concerns for dying trees in the community. The Kirkwood Urban Forestry Commission was created on February 19, 1998 to provide oversight and guidance on urban forestry issues. The Arbor Day tree planting will take place on Saturday, April 24th, where 3 tulip poplar trees will be planted along the southern border of the new Performing Arts Center. The City of Kirkwood has been designated as a Tree City USA for the 31st year, with Growth Award distinctions in 1993, 1997, 2003, and 2004. And the city has received the Missouri Department of Conservation Arbor Award of Excellence for 2011 for the Junior Tree Keepers Program, and in 2019 for its comprehensive commitment to urban forestry. Now, therefore, I, Timothy Griffin, Mayor of the City of Kirkwood, on behalf of the Kirkwood City Council, do proclaim April 24th, 2021 as Arbor Day in the City of Kirkwood. And I think on the 24th, I'm going to check the tree planting. I think is at 9 a.m. I'm going to check it really quick just to make sure. Yeah, 9 a.m. at the Performing Arts Center on Saturday, April 24th. All right, now we have another presentation for the Urban Forestry Advocate of the Year Award, Linda Holkamp. Do we know if Linda is on? Ah, I think I see Linda.
There she is.
Yep.
Hey. Can you,
Hello, Linda.
I, I am here. Start video.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Where's Pete when I need him?
He's retired. He's not doing any work. Come on.
Uh-oh, now what have I clicked? Oh dear. Oh dear.
If there's a start video somewhere, that's probably it. Or
Right. Look in the lower left-hand corner, Linda.
Yeah, sometimes like in mine, you have to float your cursor down there in order for it to reveal.
It's turning away. Oh, it's me. Okay.
Yeah. There's Linda.
we saw you, Pete.
Okay, I am here. I am here. Thank you.
Well, Linda is the Urban Forestry Advocate of the Year award winner this year. And just a little bit about Linda. I think everybody knows Linda. You know, she was first appointed Urban Forestry Commission in 1998, basically at the beginning, and served 2 terms, and then came back in 2015 again, and then served 5 years. So you, all in all, with all the years, you served a long time on the Urban Forest Commission. We appreciate that. You were part of the commission when the Tree City USA Growth Awards distinctions back in 2003 and 4, and when the city received the Department of Conservation Arbor Award of Excellence in 2019 for the comprehensive commitment to urban forestry. You were just such a big part of all of this, Linda, achieving milestones with the street tree inventory, the tree ordinance, the addition of urban forester to our staff, just your attention to detail and commitment to, organizing Junior Tree Keepers program. In 2019 is a field day at Kirkwood Park, and that is all in addition to your other hours of volunteering, just countless days and hours at commission booths at Green Tree, Earth Day celebrations, farmers market, pulling honeysuckle in the park, planting trees with 50 trees. There's not many people who have served Kirkwood as long or, as distinctly as you have, Linda. You've just been there. Even when you weren't formally on a commission, you were always active in the community, and your quote unquote retirement from the city activities, well earned and well justified. But we know you and Pete, you're not going anywhere. We're still going to see you around and be an active part of the community. So congratulations on being selected the award winner this year.
Thank you so much. It was humbling to hear the news, and because I'm not a professional, I just roll up my shirt sleeves and they let me work with them. Hopefully I've been able to bring something to the table, because it's been wonderful working with all of us dedicated citizens in Kirkwood. Yeah.
Very, very well deserved, Linda, and thank you again for all you've done all of these years. So
you're very welcome.
Well,
Good job, Linda.
Thanks, Linda.
Eric, could you point out that this doesn't allow her to retire from continued service, volunteer service?
That's why I say quote unquote retire.
You won't retire.
No, it sounds good. All right, thank you, Linda.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Now we have some electric department awards, and we'll turn it over to Director of Electric, Mark Petty.
Thanks. I know you have a busy schedule and agenda here, but I just wanted to highlight a few things. Kirkwood is a great place to live, to visit, to do business. And one of the reasons is because it has its own utility. The three awards that we've been given, Reliability Award, the award associated with our safety, and the award associated with the tree line utility status, they're indicative of the way we go about doing our business and the reason that, Kirkwood is a great place to begin with. The Reliability Award is an award where we actually turn in statistics associated with our reliability, and we're put up and measured against other utilities. And there's a board of utility ranking officials that judge us. In addition to judging our reliability, they judge our workforce plan, our capital plan, and the way we handle our market and finance operations. So it shows that we're doing things the right way, and we're doing things in a way that is competitive with everybody else in the business. These standards are not just municipal utility standards, but standards for everybody in the electric utility business. The safety award goes without, reason. I mean, it's clearly we're in a tough business. It's a difficult business. Over this last year, it's been a difficult business. And to be able to say that we were able to do our job and do it without incident is certainly a testament to the dedication, skills that we have on our team. And just lastly, the partnership that we have with the themes that are associated with Kirkwood, in particular, the trees and the tree canopy that's in Kirkwood. Our ability to follow the right guidelines, follow the right practices, and really be able to have the right types of reliability with trimming, and at the same time continue to be able to allow trees to thrive within our right-of-way and our utility easements. It's a big plus, we think, because it makes Kirkwood have that kind of feel that everybody wants to see within the city while we're still doing things. So, I always try to remind everybody that while we were going through some things with the COVID situation, and it's not over yet, but people were able to continue to do the things that they needed to do. They were able to do schooling, they were able to do shopping, they were able to do entertainment, meetings, everything that people typically do with our electric service continued because we kept the lights on. And our folks did that in a dedicated manner by keeping themselves healthy so that they were available, and at the same time coming in and doing their job even when they had a lot of personal issues that they had to take care of with their families. So I appreciate the recognition that we're given. We are usually taken for granted. We like that. That's what we sign up for. But this is really a good time to stop for a minute and celebrate our successes with the three awards, particularly in a difficult year. We share this with our team. And our team is just not the folks that we've highlighted in some of the articles that you've seen recently in the 12 and 13 line workers and other staff, but you and the citizens and everybody else that's helped support us so that we could pull this off. It's a difficult job trying to do it by yourself. You need the resources. You need everything else to go your way. Certainly, if you look at what we've been able to do in the market and other things, you can tell that there's a lot of moving pieces that require a lot of different things that have to take place in order for us to be properly prepared to get a good, positive outcome. And everybody on the team weighed in to help us to be able to do that. So, like I say, we take a minute, we celebrate this, and we keep the attitude that we have to continue to work at it. I think our best days are still yet to come. Certainly our challenges are going to be different, as is evidenced by this year's challenges. We're going to have to continue to be able to modify what we do and react to whatever we do and come up with ways that will help us to continue to be successful. But, again, I thank everybody for all their support and help with us on this one. It was tough. and it's going to be difficult, obviously, to repeat, but it's a testament to the way we're able to work together. And the team that we have is a team that other utilities don't have because we're municipal and we have police, fire, recreation, administration, council, self-governance, all of those things that make us special and make Kirkwood special. So thanks again. Appreciate it. And certainly we passed it along to the staff to let them know that this is appreciated. And away we go now, back to work.
Absolutely, Mark. Well, again, we can't say enough. We just, with all our city employees, but specifically yours, since we're talking to you right now, the work that your crews do and people do is just incredible. And it just really, it's very much appreciated. And thank them for us, please.
Will do, and thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. There is one other item that's not on the agenda that I'm going to make a few comments about right now. As I think most people know, tomorrow is the last official work day for our 22-year Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, Georgia Ragland. It's been 22 years, which is really, really incredible. And we thank Georgia and for all the work that she has done. She just has done so many things, from insurance to pensions and everything in between. And she will be missed. But there's something else about Georgia that and I know I take very personally. We don't know where or why in life certain things happen, why we happen to be somewhere. And I hope I don't embarrass Georgia or anything, but this just, since February 7th, 2008, I don't see Georgia without thinking about this, and I just need to acknowledge it. There's just a few people, we all know who we are. We look at each other and we just know. No words have to be said about that night, but Georgia that night was in her usual place by the dais when everything started. Georgia was there when the shooting started, and Georgia was there when the shooting ended. And to have endured that was just an incredible thing. But what is I think even almost more incredible is what Georgia did after all that. As deputy mayor, I called a meeting for 7 a.m. the next morning, and we met over at the police station, the staff and everybody, and Georgia was there 7 o'clock the next morning after all this had happened. And Georgia was there day after day after day, week after week, month after month. She committed herself to the city of Kirkwood in just such an incredible way. Had to be so difficult to walk into that building, but Georgia was there every day doing her job the way Georgia knows how to do it. And I will just never forget her, not just bravery, but commitment, professionalism, and character. I will just never forget that. And just know, Georgia, I appreciate everything you've done, and and I do, and we never talked much about it. But when I look at you and you look at me, we know. And I see Hessel right there too. We just know. And it's just something that will just, it's just a bond there that's always going to be there. And just, no, I can't you even think of incredible, amazing, just how you responded after that. And just thank you very, very much for that. And as people know, I'm not very big on proclaiming days, in Kirkwood for people, but there's absolutely no way I wasn't going to, proclaim George's last official day, which is April 4th, 2021, as Georgia Ragland Day in the city of Kirkwood. So, Georgia, all I can say is thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You're more than kind. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, if we could, I had an opportunity to drop in and speak with Georgia briefly today and discover something that I didn't know. She's always got that easy smile. There's not a moment you've ever seen Georgia without a quiet smile. But I learned that she's a theater fan, spent a lot of time on Broadway. And I hope that we can make arrangements at our performing center, the Arts Center, that anytime she's in to see a play, that we get her a designated location for a top-notch seat there. She deserves it.
Very good. All right, Georgia, again, I know you're low key, but I just could not say something. So thank you for everything.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Georgia.
Okay. All right. We have a public hearing tonight. The staff initiated a request for a text amendment to section 25-36E3 of the zoning code related to revisions of the framework plan portion of the downtown master plan and parking study. Mr. Hessel, do you wish to enter any exhibits into the record?
I would, Mayor. I would offer as Exhibit 1 the affidavit of publication verifying that notice of this public hearing appeared in the St. Louis County. Exhibit 2 is an affidavit of publication verifying that notice of public hearing appeared in the Webster Kirkwood Times. Exhibit 3 is the report of the Planning and Zoning Commission dated March 4, 2021, which the commission recommended that the framework plan portion of the downtown master plan and parking study be amended according to the recommendation from PGAV planners as revised by the commission, and that the necessary zoning code text amendment to section 25-36E3 be adopted. Exhibit 4 is the memorandum from Jonathan Raish to the Planning and Zoning Commission, setting forth the recommendations to the language, as well as attachments Exhibit A and Exhibit B to that report. Exhibit 5 is the Code of Ordinances of the City of Kirkwood.
Thank you, John. Mr. Hawes, who will present this to the council?
That would be Jonathan Raish, Planning and Development Services Director.
Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I will give me one moment and I'll share my screen here. If you can all, Mayor, if you can let me know when it shows up.
Yes, it's up.
And is it the full screen slide?
It's not full screen though.
Okay, give me one. There we go.
How's that?
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. All right. So this is a public hearing for a zoning code text amendment related to multifamily residential use as a permitted use in the B2 district, and relating to the framework plan revision recommendations from the downtown commercial market analysis that was conducted by PGAV. So just a little background. This is a topic we've covered multiple times over the past few years. And just a quick timeline to refresh everybody's memory. So in March of 2018, the downtown master plan and parking study was presented and finalized. And it included the framework plan that was the way in which was a recommendation at that time for a way in which we could regulate multifamily development and the location in downtown. In May of 2018, a little later that year, the City Council made its first revision to the framework plan as part of that downtown master plan. About a year later, in April 2019, the city then did add multifamily as a permitted use in the B2 district with reference to the framework plan. Then in May of 2019, a second revision was made into the framework plan. And most recently, in January 2020, first, the PGAV study, Downtown Commercial Market Study, was presented. And that was a follow-up, really a more in-depth commercial market study done that was recommended as part of the Downtown Master Plan by DPZ. So, and as part of that study, we asked PGAV to, in their expertise with market analyses, to look at that framework plan and to provide us with recommendations, if any, for revisions on where commercial is required and conversely where multifamily is permitted without a commercial component. And then most recently in January of this year, the City Council did approve a third revision to the framework plan. And see if this was the most recent revision. It's a little crowded here. The red circle there is the intersection of Clay and Jefferson. No, I'm sorry, Clay and Adams. And so the two properties on the east side of the intersection of Clay and Adams in January of this year were removed from the commercial component requirement, which means they were permitted to have multifamily without a commercial component in them. So that occurred this year, earlier. And this is a zoomed out version of the excerpt from the PGAV commercial market analysis for downtown that shows so this is their annotated version of the framework plan that is excerpted from the downtown master plan. And their annotations are shown in blue. And this is what I referenced these in January as and it told you guys that we would be coming back to you soon with these more holistic recommendations for consideration. And so the other recommendations, other than the Adams and Clay that I mentioned just a minute ago, PGAV also recommended really distinguishing the code at this time treats suggested and mandatory commercial. So in this diagram, the red solid lines are areas where a commercial component of the development is required. The red solid lines, the red dashed lines are where they would be suggested. Up until now, our code has treated those two things the same way, so that if your property is indicated as suggested or mandatory commercial, we do require commercial at this point. PGAV's recommendations hinge upon us actually making a distinction between those two and codifying that. So you see there are four marked recommendations here. It would be changing Kirkwood Road from Washington Avenue north to essentially the existing commercial properties. They recommended adding those or changing those from recommended or suggested commercial to mandatory commercial. They recommended adding a suggested commercial designation on the 100 block of West Washington and the western half of the 100 block of East Washington. They also recommended the changes that were already adopted in January at Clay and Adams. And then lastly, they recommended a mandatory commercial designation for the 100 block of West Monroe on both the north and south streets. So those were the recommendations from that study that were presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission did take those into consideration and did include, which was included in my memo for you all, 4 revisions, I guess, to those recommendations by the consultant. The first one, and I'll show you a final map. It was included in your packet, but I'll show that in a slide or two. But just to go over these, the first revision by the Planning and Zoning Commission was to exclude the property at 220 South Clay from the mandatory commercial requirement. Again, I'll show you this on the map as well. The second one was to designate the property at 470 North Kirkwood Road, which is currently the US Bank site, as mandatory commercial. Third was to designate all properties on Kirkwood Road between Washington Avenue and Adams Avenue as mandatory commercial. And fourth was to change the designation of the property at 142 West Monroe Avenue from mandatory commercial as proposed by PGAV to suggested commercial. So before I show you the map that incorporates all the PGAV recommendations and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendations, as I mentioned, this is all hinged upon distinguishing between suggested and mandatory, which we have not done until this point. So that is the first reason for the zoning text amendment. Up until this point, we have amended the framework plan by resolution because it was adopted by resolution. But in order to distinguish between suggested and mandatory, we do have to do a text amendment to section 2536E3. And again, this is the section of the code that outlines, because really what we're talking about is multifamily as a permitted use in the B2 district. And the framework plan allowed us to answer the questions about how much multifamily should we have downtown, and where should that be located, or on how many properties and where should those properties be located. So this text amendment removes the reference to the suggested commercial and just leaves that in the B2 district unless otherwise approved as part of a mixed use development. I guess I glossed over that until now. But in the B2 district, unless otherwise approved as part of a mixed use development, multifamily dwellings cannot be constructed on properties that are designated as mandatory commercial in the downtown master plan and parking studies framework plan. So before I go on to the figure reference there, again, this is just where multifamily without a commercial component would be permitted. So our mixed use projects are still available throughout the downtown, regardless. They're the same way they are today. If they meet the requirements to qualify as a mixed use development, they would be able to be located on any of these properties. And then since the Planning and Zoning Commission, or between the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation and now, staff has looked at this a little more and discussed with the city attorney as well. And we think we recommend considering adding the figure, the map itself, as a figure to the text. So I have here the text shows C figure 36A, and the next slide is what would ultimately be that 36A inserted into the code. And again, this would make the framework plan portion of the downtown master plan, it would codify it. So it would take, in the future, to make changes, it would take a text amendment, okay? And the reason we are considering this now is really just to remove any question or doubt on applicants or property owners that they may have about where it's permitted or not. We feel we recommend that you all consider it just to make it absolutely clear, and as part of the code. So you see, this is the final version that, like I said, incorporates the PGAV recommendations as revised by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And if I can find that slide so I can point them out to you here. So again, those recommendations were to exclude the property at 220 South Clay. So that is the northeast corner of Monroe and Clay. You all can see my cursor, right? Maybe not. Okay, so the north.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. So the northeast corner of Monroe and Clay, that is currently a multifamily development with no commercial. It is also a fairly small property in comparison. So the Planning and Zoning Commission discussed that as a comparable property to what we discussed at Adams and Clay, and removed the restriction there. So they recommend not requiring commercial on that smaller multifamily multifamily property. Secondly, while I'm in this area, just across the street, one of the recommendations, this is the 142 West Monroe site, where they recommend moving it from mandatory to suggested commercial. This is the where did my cursor go? This is the property that has been used as multiple things. It's the old historic landmark building that Taleo Coffee was approved for. There was Alta Planning. There was a yoga studio in there recently, and historically, even before, it was, I believe, a banquet and food service place. So it has been various commercial uses in the past. It is a landmark building. So the commission discussed whether it would be appropriate to remove it completely from the commercial because it is also smaller in size. The other thing that they mentioned that we talked about on the Adams and Clay conversation was also the fact that these two properties are on the opposite side of Clay. There are residential uses, and actually on the southwest, single family residential. So they saw that as a good transition. Now, because it's been successful commercial in the past, they decided to recommend, the Planning and Zoning Commission decided to recommend this as a suggested commercial, just to try to keep that in there if it's possible for future uses, but didn't feel strongly enough to require it. The other two changes that they made was to extend, so PGAV's recommendation cut short of the US Bank site here, and I don't know that was, it may have even actually been an oversight or an error. So to keep the commercial component requirement consistent along all of Kirkwood Road where there is commercial currently, it would be extended through the current US Bank site. And then lastly, the properties between Washington and Adams, again, it was a little hard to tell in the previous diagrams, but it looked like the properties on the north half of the block were a dashed line. And again, because we previously hadn't distinguished between suggested and mandatory, it really wasn't discussed much before because we treated them the same. But now that we're distinguishing between the two, it seemed appropriate to the Planning and Zoning Commission to make sure to clarify that the properties on Kirkwood Road between Adams and Washington would require commercial as well. So this does take the text amendment to amend both the text and then to add the figure. So that requires a public hearing. That's why we're here tonight. And so after that, after tonight's public hearing, we request that City Council consider the recommendations, and it would take 2 votes for an ordinance to pass the ordinance. And with that, I am available for questions. Mayor, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I see council member Sears. We'll start with you.
I just wondered about the use of the term multifamily dwelling as opposed to any. I mean, are we open then for single family dwellings?
No, no. So they're defined differently in our code. So then single families is different in the use table. It's a separate row in the use table. So they are distinguished. So it would not.
I don't know, I mean, unless it's taken care of elsewhere in the code, which you would know better than me. I don't know why we would say multifamily without including other residential uses or non-business uses. But like it may be that that my question is silly because it's obvious somewhere else in the code.
Is the question, are you suggesting that we should allow single family in the B2 district where multifamily is? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just suggesting that we be clear if we say no multifamily. So that's very specific. And I wonder if we intend for it to be broader than that. And it sounds like we do.
So I guess the basis of how the uses are identified in the code is now we have a use table. And so it lists every use and which districts those uses are permitted with standards or a special use. So multiple dwelling multifamily or multifamily dwelling is a whole separate category. So it's very clearly in section 2535 in the use table 35-1 that, for instance, single family dwelling is a whole separate row and it is prohibited in B2, if that answers your question.
That answers the question. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other council comments or questions? Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes, Jonathan, we talked about 144 West Adams and the size of that property really prohibited it because it was so small, it could never be commercial. Are there any other areas that we're looking at that are in the designated mandatory commercial designations that kind of fall into the same bucket, that even though we're designating them as mandatory commercial, we, because of our code, building height, parking requirements, would they not be able to meet mandatory commercial, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think so. So I believe the few instances, the Monroe and Clay intersection that we talked about, those two were examples that P&Z discussed that, and certainly I think were recommended to be revised appropriately. There are, on that same block of Monroe, there are some narrow lots. However, I think the whole reason for PGAV's recommendation is that they have been successful commercial properties up to this point, and that we would want to continue to see that. And so that's the rationale of the recommendation as I see it.
Sure. Yeah, the only thing I'm real quick, if those come before us, that's something we'll have to deal with if they don't meet our requirements right now.
Right.
What they have now.
Sure. And I think the other piece, while certainly lot size was talked about substantially for West Adams, I don't want to downplay the physical location of those properties being directly across from a church and school. I think the surrounding uses, as much as anything, play a part in this. And so
Sure.
while there may be other similarly sized properties in the middle of the block on Monroe, they are in the middle of commercial uses. So I think, there's a number of components that to be considered.
And that makes sense. Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan.
Sure.
Councilmember Dewey.
I drove by the Monroe block that we are talking about, and I don't know if there's a way to do this or if there is a way that's already been done. But those are beautiful buildings, used to be houses, but buildings that are now commercial. And is there anything in the code that protects those remaining commercial, but not turning into a 5-story building? I don't know that we can do that, but it's just, the whole block is the same, and it's just a very unique and very wonderful place to have an office building in one of those houses.
Yeah. So this change would preserve them staying commercial. It would not prevent, it would not prevent them from being redeveloped. And
Exactly.
I don't, other than the 142 West Monroe, the corner property, I don't believe any of the other ones are a landmark, and they're not in a district, which, as you know, it would add a layer of review, but would not prohibit somebody from.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So,
correct. I just didn't know if that's ever been brought up, if there's any interest in trying to come up with a way in the code to protect these houses that we have in Kirkwood that are beautiful, and they have offices in them. They have commercial in them.
I'm
not
sure that I have a solution, but
yeah, I know. I guess I
understand
just
your
sort
point.
of wanted to throw it out there, and let's think about it if anybody's interested. That's it.
Any other council? Hands up? I see no other council hands up. So do we have anyone from the audience wishing to speak?
There are no hands raised.
All right, thank you, Freddie. Any final questions or comments from council? All right, seeing none, this public hearing is closed, and this bill will be on our new business agenda on April 15th. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will move on to public comments.
The public comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for the city council to listen to comments from citizens. It is not a question and answer session, and the city council will not respond to comments or answer questions during this period. The mayor may refer any matter brought up to the city council to the chief administrative officer or city clerk if action is needed. If there's anybody wishing to make a public comment, if you would please state your name and address for the record.
All right. Thank you, Laurie. Freddie, do we have anyone wishing to speak?
There are no hands raised.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, we will then move on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or comments on the consent agenda?
Yes,
Councilmember Gibbons.
I'd like to hold F and G.
F is 27, 2001, and G 28, 2021. Those are the two?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, bear with me 1 second. I need to write those down on the agenda. All right, thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, all in favor of the consent agenda with items G and F removed, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. All right. We'll move to unfinished business, Bill 10872.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance appropriating $27,000 from the electric fund balance to the electric engineering account to cover additional expenses associated with the time of use rate development and polar vortex power and sales impact.
All right, any questions or comments? I seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Bill passes. New business, Bill 10873.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance appropriating donations received from Kirkwood resident Zach Wagner in the amount of $14,716 to the Dasher Board advertising account and then to the Small Capital Machinery and Equipment account, accepting the quote of Nevco Incorporated in the amount of $14,715.42 for the purchase of 2 new scoreboards for the Community Center Ice Arena.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Very, very nice, generous donation from obviously one of our hockey fan residents.
Yes, very generous, very
Yes,
generous.
thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Bill 10874.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance adopting a revised City of Kirkwood classification and pay plan.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
All right, a motion is second. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Mayor, I'm sorry. I had one thing. I just, I'm still learning all this, but this person's a part-time person, but we're comparing it to a full-time position. Is that correct? I didn't
Russ, you want to take that?
That's a,
Actually, Georgia may be better suited to answer this question. I don't think it's being compared to a full-time position. It's, I'll let Georgia handle that.
We group, right,
Yeah.
we group positions together, and the hourly rates will be within the same, pay classification. So the value of what they're doing is kind of worth the same value as what others are doing in that pay classification. They simply will be working fewer hours.
I see. Okay. And does it include insurance when you're part-time?
It includes some benefits. This does not include health insurance or dental or vision. But there are other benefits like life insurance and our EAP program and those kinds of things that are extended to part-time employees.
Thank you.
Anything else from council? All right, seeing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Bill 10875.
Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance amending the Kirkwood Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 7, Boards and Commissions, by adding a new division 4, Youth Advisory Commission, and redesignating the subsequent divisions accordingly.
Is there a motion for approval?
So I move.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think her motion could be the first and second, you know?
Probably.
Questions or comments? I think I'll just go to Maggie first.
I'll just say this, these students are exciting, ready to work and solve and learn and be involved. I look forward to having their thoughts, ideas, and opinions to be part of the fabric of Kirkwood for a very, very long time.
Thanks to you and thanks to John for the work that he put into it.
You bet.
Legislation done.
It was a pleasure for all the reasons Maggie gave.
Wait a minute, you're our attorney. You shouldn't have fun doing legal work.
Well, I had to deal with Maggie too. So.
Well, okay, there you go.
There's that.
There's that.
Now we understand. All right, any other council comments or questions on this? All right, seeing none, all in favor of first reading, please say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Bill passes first reading. Resolution 30, 2021.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the bid of Bates Utility Company in the amount not to exceed of $419,786, which includes contingency of $38,163 for Grand Avenue water main replacement and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract.
Is there a motion for approval?
Moved.
Motion.
A motion is second. Questions or comments? All right. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 33, 2021.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the bid of Lamkey Trenching and Excavating in the amount of $935,030.25, not to exceed budgeted funds, for concrete slab replacement and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 34, 2021.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution approving two modifications to the subdivision design standards in Chapter 25, Article 10 of the Municipal Code to accommodate an adjustment of the boundary lines between properties located at 336, 338, and 340 South Fillmore Avenues, subject to certain conditions.
Is there a motion for approval?
Motion.
So moved.
I got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Gibbons.
This is residential property, correct?
I believe it is.
Just south of, north of Fillmore Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's zoned residential. That's correct.
All right, anything else? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
Yes.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Now we'll go to the two resolutions pulled from the consent agenda. Resolution 27, 2021.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the bid of Ranieri Construction at the rates provided in the bid tab sheet, copy of which is attached here to and incorporated by reference herein, amount not to exceed budgeted funds for infrastructure restoration repair program for the water and engineering departments for an initial term of 12 months with the option to renew for up to 4 additional 12-month terms, pending budgetary approval, and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Councilmember Gibbons.
Well, the reason I wanted to hold this over is that I would like a stipulation that the sidewalks not be white. That they try to match as closely as possible. And I know that that's not, but they don't have to be stark white. So somehow I wanted in here that they have the concrete that's used to replace our sidewalks would have some kind of tinting in it so that they were not a white sidewalk, and to get as close as they can to the existing sidewalk that's there.
I guess the question, I don't know, is that done? Is that possible? If it can be done, what's the cost?
Well, my understanding is, yes, it is possible. You can't get a perfect match necessarily, and it does drive the cost up. So fewer sidewalks are repaired for the same amount of money under those circumstances. And that's the reason that I believe that Public Services has done it in the way in which it has been done for years. But if council wishes to change that approach, we can certainly change that approach.
Do we know, or Bill, I don't know, or Chris, what the difference in cost is from just putting the concrete to trying to do some type of some type of color match.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have an exact cost, but one of the problems is that we use in this program with sidewalks, we use something that's called small loads of concrete. So we don't get out and when we do the sidewalks, we're only using 2-4 yards of concrete at a time, not 10 or 15. If we were doing that at 10 or 15 yards at a time, it would be economical. But the big problem is that we're probably looking at least doubling the cost of the repair of sidewalks. And it becomes more difficult because we have a multitude of different shades of sidewalks throughout the city based on the aggregate used, based on the age that was used, or the age of the concrete and stuff like that. So coming up and trying to match those multitudes increases our price also. That's why it's traditionally been in most municipalities and in ours just to use the standard concrete mix that we use for our concrete streets. I remember going through this exact same discussion about trying to match our concrete streets. So our streets didn't look like patchwork years ago. And basically that's what it comes down to. There is an increased cost. And as Russ stated, that cost increase then decreases the amount of sidewalk we can do with our budget. But it can be done. It's just, there's just an increased cost.
It was done on Harrison. There was 4 sections of sidewalk that was put in there, and it was a dark gray, and not nearly as offensive as the stark white that's been used all over the city.
Right, and that's based on the concrete company and the cement that's from that concrete company. Each concrete company doesn't have the same exact cement that's manufactured throughout the area. So you'll get, and the other thing was, I think the concrete you're talking about was poured during the winter time. So it was what's called a richer mix because it was cold out. So there's a higher content of cement in that that sidewalk, basically. So there's a lot of things that differentiate how the color of the sidewalk eventually comes out.
Well, is there a possibility of requiring a richer concrete on all the work that we do? Is that adding?
Oh, absolutely. We can add a richer concrete, but it also, the weather condition affects this curing process also, which affects the color, tinting of the color also. And again, if we go to a higher concrete mix, it's just more expensive. That's all.
To be clear, do we have a motion?
Not yet.
We don't have.
I think we should be discussing some motion.
How did that start? That's my fault then. That's right. I didn't ask for a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
It would be a motion to amend, right?
Right.
No. I thought you meant approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Right, you have a motion to approve, Mayor.
No,
I guess I was.
Discussion. There's no motion to amend yet. I mean, I think it's.
Right, we're just discussing the bill, and I think Bob is getting to where I was going to go. And Bill, is there any way, with respect to what the city council is considering, which is a resolution accepting the proposal of Murphy Company to, based upon the rates that they have provided, to amend this in some way to require that the particular kind of cement is going to be used on a particular project? I'm struggling with what motion I could even advise Liz as to what could be made with respect to this proposal.
I would probably leave a little bit of that up to procurement. This would be a change in the specifications, so we would have to go out and get new. We would have to either, again, I don't want to go in there to the procurement process, but we would have to amend the contract based on what your decision is, and then get new pricing on the contract.
You'd probably have to amend the request for proposals and then get new pricing and then come back, I suspect. And I'm not sure,
Yeah,
I guess my point, Bill, is I'm not even sure how we would amend our proposals to make sure that the concrete is a particular color based upon not only the cement they're using, but based upon what I heard you say is the timing in which it's installed. And what other factors come into play in the color of concrete?
Yeah.
If I may offer something, I mean, I was waiting for a motion to amend to come forward, but I guess we're just including that in this discussion. I think it's problematic to match colors in sidewalks, and here's a real reason why I think that's a problem. Mine matches most of my neighborhoods. It's darker. It's not white. It's gray. And I used industrial vinegar to clean the weeds in the cracks in it. And now it's bright white striped because I cleaned the sidewalk. So I'm going to clean the whole sidewalk with the same safe method. And then I will have a nice white sidewalk as it was originally installed. And I don't want the city to come, and even if I left it alone, I don't want the city to come and try to match a dirty sidewalk that could be cleaned in the future. So I just think it's a problem because they're in all patinas of all sorts in different neighborhoods. And are we matching a color of the concrete, or are we trying to match the dingy color of old concrete? Wallace is going to complain about my sidewalk.
Yeah, it's a Missouri Tiger stripe, so it's okay, Bob. I'm wondering if Councilperson Gibbons would consider allowing this bid to go through and be approved, and task the Public Works to seek out alternate bids for post-installation staining, because you can stain concrete after it's already been poured. And that would allow you to actually attack more in those neighborhoods where it's important to residents to have matching sidewalks. You could do that. Would that be acceptable to you?
It would be acceptable to me. Anything but white would be acceptable to me. Bill, is that a possibility to a post stain?
I would say yes. There's stains out there, okay, and there's a multitude of different colors of stains also, okay. But I would say that we could do a pilot project, okay, and see if we can find a stain. But again, I'm going to go back to it's going to be difficult to match everything, because it's not only the match of the cement, but it's also the age of the concrete and the exposure of the aggregate in the concrete that makes the color difference also.
I'm not asking to match. I'm asking that it not be white.
I think we can if this contract gets approved and we can move forward with the multitude of repairs we have to make, okay, that we could do some sampling of things and have the council participate in that sampling to see and pick out the color.
That sounds great.
I would like this to be in a form.
Yeah.
Where are we?
I like white sidewalks.
Wait, people are
on the contracts, Bill or Russ, time frame. Do these have to be from a time frame approved tonight?
It would be preferred to approve them tonight, because we do have, like I said, we have a backlog of repairs in the streets and sidewalks that we have to get to. And if I'm not mistaken, Dave or Chris might be able to help me there. I think our current contracts expire at the end of May.
So then this one, when would this one go? I'm just trying to think if there's ways for you to just get some information for council before we, vote on it and then have to amend it or do this or that, just trying to buy time if there is time.
I guess what I was trying to get to, Mayor, is regardless of the answer Bill gives you, what you're really talking about doing is reversing everything that has been done up to date with respect to this proposal. We issue RFPs, we identify the criteria that someone who wants to bid is supposed to be in there. They then submit bids, we bring these bids, and this is what you're trying to do, is accept a proposal based upon those specifications. Now, if we have to go back and identify with the city council, somehow that the company has to identify that when they install this cement, it can be any color other than white. And I'm not trying to make light of that, but that's what I heard. That it just can't be white. That's a different deal. That's different than what's on the table this evening, is my point.
But now we're talking about a stain.
But that's a different deal as well. If this city council wants to go through the exercise of having staff bring back to you various staining propositions, so a majority of the city council can determine what color, what stain color, because as Bill said, there's a variety of stains that are going to be used. What staining? We can go through that exercise.
Yeah, I thought Councilperson Gisbin said agreed to go forward with this contract as it is tonight, but to have the administration come back with an alternate in staining later at another date. So we wouldn't make any revisions to this contract.
Councilmember Wertz.
Okay, so granted, I'm not in the day-to-day operations, but I do finance for our concrete subsidiary, my day job, right? So the problem, I get the aesthetic appeal of wanting it to not be like, holy cow, that was replaced. But when you start changing things, the warranty cost starts to go up on the construction side, right? So then you're starting to, as a construction company, you're wanting to make sure you're covering your butt on some of that. And I'm afraid if we start looking more aesthetic concrete and less what's going to keep our residents safe, what's going to get the job done, we're also limiting what time of year we can pour that concrete. So sorry, your sidewalk's busted. We're going to have to wait 3 extra months because it has to match a color, not it has to be as productive as possible. So I just kind of want to throw that out there. I don't know if any of that made sense. It's been a long day, but I just thought maybe it might help to kind of share an operation side from the concrete side.
Yeah, and I agree, Kara, and those are good points. And I think they are relevant. And you know, frankly, if I were to make an amendment to this about the color, I would say I want them to be white. I think it's important that we have clean looking white concrete sidewalks. And in the future, when they're replaced, the new ones will be white and they'll age altogether and get a color or patina. I'm not proposing that. I wouldn't do that. I'm just saying that if it were up to me to pick a color, I'd pick white. So that's why I think we need a bigger discussion about our sidewalk program than what is before us tonight, because we have a difference of opinion on the council about what color our sidewalks should be.
This might, if I could.
Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there are some approaches that I think are worthy for consideration that have been brought up tonight. But I think that perhaps at the strategic planning session, when we talk about philosophical approaches to projects and problems in the city, that lends itself well to that type of discussion. That's just a take of mine at this point. We could, between now and then, prepare options for city council to consider that are along the lines of what's being discussed tonight, with relative pricing differences and so forth.
Thank you. Councilmember Zimmer.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody else. We have white sidewalks and we have the old original sidewalks, and I like the white sidewalks, but I did actually power wash the older sidewalks and they cleaned up really nice. And as you all know, I live on a corner lot with miles of sidewalks that I shovel in the winter, and it's great for a year, and then it was dirty again. So I don't know how, I don't know how much effort we want to put. I think our focus should be just getting all the sidewalks repaired and then maybe going from there.
Councilmember Dewey.
I would just second Councilmember Zimmer's. I'm not nearly as concerned with the color as I am with the safety and the continuity of our sidewalk system. The more of them we can do, the better.
All right. All right, so we've heard different conversations about these resolutions and the difficulty with amending it. We've also heard from Russ and Bill potential things separate than this. So is there anything else specifically on this resolution right now? Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes, and Resolution 27, 2021 and Resolution 28, 2021 are related in that there are maps of the city that are attached that divide coverage of the city based on these two resolutions. And I talked to Russ about this, and I would like further explanation as to why we're taking this approach of dividing the city in half and having two different bids. I think, just explain to the public and to our audience as to why we took this approach versus just one bid for the entire city.
Well, Mr. Zimmer and I did talk about this, and I've talked further with Bill Bensing, and I think he's prepared to explain the rationale and the impetus for this. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill.
Okay. Mark, okay, I guess you can hear me. Basically what it is that over the past couple of years, we've had difficulties getting through our sidewalk replacements and our street repairs quickly. You'll see some patches out there that'll stay out there for 3 or 4 months, okay? And our contract that we had, because we gave the whole contract to one contractor, and at times unfortunately, our work is secondhand to them. They're handling their larger projects, so it's very difficult to get them to come in here and get their work done, okay, in a timely manner. And we're trying to get our work done more efficiently and more timely to repair the roads and to get the sidewalks replaced and the trip hazards removed. And what we did was with procurement, engineering, and water, they did an evaluation of where all these repairs and water main breaks sort of happen throughout the city, and they tried to balance it out. So the maps that you show is sort of a balance of where work is, okay?
Okay.
And not only with that next to speed up the repairs, okay? And not only is that, within this contract, there's a performance aspect to the contracts also, that basically if they don't repair them within a certain amount of time, they'll get notified that they're in violation of the contract. And basically if they get 3 of those notifications, we can terminate that contract and turn the whole contract over to the remaining contractor one way or the other, okay? But we're looking at trying to more effectively and efficiently get our sidewalks repaired and our street water main break areas repaired quicker. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, great. And the 2 companies that were awarded, same criteria, everything's the same, whether it's the north side or the south side. There's absolutely no difference in who was given what. Is that correct?
That's correct. They have the exact same types of repairs they have to match. The bid tab was exactly the same, but we just took the 2 lowest bidders and then divided the city.
Okay, great. And those bidders are assigned a certain half. They can't If they're assigned to the north, they can't help out in the south.
No, they can help out in the south. We
Okay.
can control that type of work.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
All right. Anything else on resolution 27, 2021? All right. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
No.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 28, 2021.
Mayor and Council, this is a resolution accepting the bid of E. Meyer Contracting at the rates provided in the bid tab sheet, copy of which attached here to and incorporated by reference herein, amount not to exceed budgeted funds for infrastructure restoration repair program for the Water and Engineering Departments, for the Water and Engineering Department's initial term of 12 months, with the option to renew for up to 4 additional 12-month terms, pending budgetary approval and authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract.
Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
Have a motion, second. Any, excuse me, any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Griffin,
Yes.
Councilmember Dewey,
Yes.
Councilmember Zimmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Yes.
Councilmember Wertz,
Yes.
Councilmember Gibbons,
No.
Councilmember Sears.
Yes.
Resolution passes. City council reports. Anything to report? Councilmember Zimmer.
Yes, and this is for Georgia Ragland. You know, watching and working with Georgia was always a pleasure, and I was always impressed by her professionalism, her organizational skills. She always was on top of everything. She always had, you know, specific, well thought answers to any questions that anyone would ask her. And the city of Kirkwood, I can tell you, has been fortunate to have her services. And the citizens of Kirkwood have been incredibly fortunate to have her services. She doesn't always seek the limelight, but she has done such an incredible job over the years with her knowledge and expertise, balancing needs of employees and citizens, and she will certainly be missed. And Georgia, thank you for your service to the city of Kirkwood.
Anything else from council?
Thank you, Mark.
Ditto to what Mark said.
I just said, thank you, Mark. Well said. Ditto.
We'll miss you, Georgia.
She's not going far. She's
Yeah,
still
okay.
around.
She'll have more time with her dogs.
You'll find her over at the Performing Arts
Like
Center.
now when you come up to City Hall, bring your dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Chief Administrative Officer report.
Well, I just got to say something about Georgia myself. She's been my rock. Her office is next to mine. If I get stumped on something, I bounce it off Georgia, and we're not stumped anymore because she is a deep thinker and she is analytical and she can delve into spreadsheets like nobody's business. It's amazing. But she adds so much with a servant's heart to this community. And that's what really moves me about Georgia is she's always looking out for the best for everybody. And I'm going to miss her. And I know the community is not going to have that level of strength. We've got a real good person coming in, David Weidler, who's going to learn as he goes along, I'm sure. That he had a great mentor under Georgia over the last couple of years. She's been working with him closely. So that's exciting that the transition is going to be a smooth one, and David is eminently qualified. But there's something special about Georgia, and it's irreplaceable. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Russ. City Attorney report.
Mayor, I really don't have anything to report, but I would be remiss if I didn't echo the comments that you made, Mark made, and Russ made about Georgia. I've had the pleasure of working with Georgia throughout her tenure with the city, and I do mean it has been an absolute pleasure. I'm not sure that people really have recognized, as Russ said, the knowledge, the analytical skills, the way that Georgia goes about her business. It is so admirable. And I also admire her calm, thoughtful demeanor and the manner in which she goes about dealing with people and dealing with tough issues in a very respectful way. One of Georgia's strongest admirers is my partner, Kurt Calloway, who Georgia has worked with for many, many years. And I think those of you who know Kurt know him, that he does not offer praise very quickly or very easily, but he certainly offers his praise and admiration to you. So on behalf of Kurt, I'm sending his best regards and highest regards as well, and best wishes to you, Georgia. And I would also like to echo the comments that the mayor made, as he pointed out, after the February 7th incident. The courage and strength that you showed was incredible, absolutely incredible. And in typical Georgia fashion, she did it without any fanfare. She did it because she cares. She did it the right way. And I don't think many people realize and have recognized that Georgia was one of the unsung heroes in the time that was spent, and I mean the countless hours and time that was spent towards our fundraising efforts for the families of the victims that were murdered that evening. I know people who served on the committee, all of them pointed out that Georgia was absolutely incredible in the way that she handled everything and went about participating in that effort. So Georgia, for all the things you have done for all these years, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, John. City Clerk report.
Yes, Your Honor. I just have the report of the scheduled upcoming public hearings. We have one scheduled for April 15th, 2021, a request for a special use permit for Randall's Wines and Spirits to operate a liquor store at 10441 and 10451 Manchester Road. In Georgia, even though I've seen you multiple times and shared thoughts with you, I'll make this short. I echo what everyone says, and it has been such a pleasure working with you for over 12 years. John said it so perfectly. Your calm and thoughtful demeanor is admirable, and you're going to be greatly missed. You will leave a big hole in the city of Kirkwood. We're excited for our adventures with David, but we'll always think of you. So we thank you for your service. And that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Laurie. Georgia, I know the answer, but I'm going to ask. Would you like to say anything?
No, really. I mean, my goal this week is to get out of here without crying, and you guys are trying my patience with that one. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Georgia. All right. With that, our business is done. Our next meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight, 7 p.m. via Zoom, April 15th, 2021. This meeting is adjourned.
It's been a rough year, But with the help and commitment of some real-life heroes in our community, we survived. We're still here, still creating, still building, still moving mountains. We're still serving our customers, still building our networks. We're not just surviving, we're thriving. And we couldn't have done it without the help of all the people on the front lines, keeping us safe and taking care of our community. The paramedics, the nurses, the healthcare workers, the teachers. We've depended on them this year like never before. We honor them today. This is their story.
My name is Christine Newsham. I am an elementary school teacher. I teach 3rd grade, and this is my 18th year teaching. Actually, all of them in Kirkwood.
My name is Jason Hutchins. I'm a detective for the Kirkwood Police Department, and I've been at Kirkwood for just over a year, going on 2 years.
My name is Andrew Huber. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and one of the owners of Martha's Hands Home Care Services.
My name is Rodney Douglas, and I am the Supervisor of Respiratory Care, and I've been here for 15 years.
My name is Tracy Behrens. I'm the charge nurse in the ICU. I recently just took over the telemetry floor as well.
My name is Timothy Whalen. I'm a paramedic firefighter. Been here going on 12 years now.
Definitely figuring out how to use Zoom was interesting at first. I'm so thankful for it though. But learning how to use like breakout rooms and how to create the environment we would create in the classroom in a virtual world.
Law enforcement in general, public service in general, is kind of an up-close and personal type of business. So for us to provide the services that we need to, we have to be within, close proximity to people. And that can sometimes, be a little scary, especially with COVID. We weren't sure, what it was or how it would affect us starting out.
We also had to look at securing personal protective equipment. So we had to all of a sudden source new supplies that we'd never needed to source before and were now extremely high demand.
We're not doing field trips. We're not having assemblies. Some of those things that when I think back to my elementary school experience, those are moments I'll remember forever, and we're not having the opportunity to have those experiences.
It was very emotional because a lot of things that we tried and thought the patient would get better, they didn't get better. So yeah, this is probably the most, I would say the most difficult time that I've ever seen and faced in 35 years of doing respiratory.
When COVID was kind of hot and heavy and we still didn't know 100% what was going on, there was a clinic here in town that I guess their underground parking garage was kind of like a ground zero for COVID testing and for treatment of people with COVID-like symptoms. And we received a call to go down there to assist the fire department. Initially, it was for one patient that had fallen ill that needed to be transported to a more skilled facility. And as I was en route there, the dispatch advised that there was another patient that went down with COVID-like symptoms at the same little makeshift hospital they had going on. And when I got there, it was pretty hectic. It looked like something kind of like a post-apocalyptic movie. You went down in this basement. There were people with masks and gowns, and everyone was segregated. Some people were inside their vehicles that were like isolated. So it kind of reminded you of like a military field hospital.
The PPP loan was incredibly important to fund our team members, to keep them working, keep them being paid even when they weren't working because of an exposure, and then paying extra for those who were working during the real extreme times of March, April, and May when the county had to shut down. We gave them hero pay because we never stopped. Some businesses were able to just shut down, or they say, hey, we're gonna go into work from home mode, and we ramped up. Our work doubled overnight.
So I would say my biggest challenge was not seeing my family. And you're already dealing with some pretty not knowing situations and tougher situations at work, and then not to have that backup at home, or just that whenever you get home.
My father got COVID about the same time I did. My symptoms lasted, a couple, 3 weeks, about a month or so, kind of subsided, lost my taste and smell and everything. His symptoms kind of got worse. Mine kind of got better, his progressively got worse, and he went into the hospital and then went to the ICU, then had to get put on the ventilator, and he ultimately passed away, didn't make it. So it was like and it was very tough for all of us because I was going through it here at work and then going through it, at home with the family.
We're placing caregivers into their homes to provide one-on-one intimate care where they cannot keep socially distanced. They have to do hands-on care. We found, basically had to turn on a dime come mid-March and create a whole new set of protocols, procedures, and guidance for 300 plus caregivers and 200 plus clients overnight with very little information and often conflicting information from government entities and other resources. So it was a monumental task, and it wasn't hypothetical, it wasn't theoretical, it was real. I was placing people for their work into an assignment that could possibly kill them.
Later on, we started receiving a lot of emails from patients' families that they would print off and bring into us that we would read to them. So when people found out that we were doing that, we even had housekeepers coming in, and they're like, "You shouldn't be the only. This should not just be your burden." And we had a couple of housekeepers that would sit down and read the emails to the patients and hold their hands for a little bit, just so that they weren't alone.
Thought about the first day that we came back in person, and it actually makes me emotional. I'm sorry. But all of those months of seeing these little faces in squares, and then to see them coming back in these different conditions, but just how excited they were to be there. I couldn't sleep. It was like Christmas Eve. Just knowing that I was going to get to see them. And even if we bump elbows, that's the new fist bump or high five. Just to actually connect with each other and to see their smiles behind those masks and how their eyes changed when they saw each other. And it was just probably one of the greatest moments in my career.
I think that we've all become acutely aware of our actions, that what we do affects others and our inactions. If we don't do something, it also affects our neighbors, it affects our friends, and it affects strangers that we don't even know. So I think it kind of made us more aware of what we're doing and how it can affect other people.
The one thing that this did was it brought people closer together as a community.
I'll tell you one thing we did. There was a little girl, young lady. She was selling masks. I guess online. She was making them and selling them, and she was taking the profits and going out and giving it to different businesses around. And she came and delivered popcorn to us at the firehouse. I mean, it's just things like that they're unexpected. And it's just at this time when you think everything's so grim, and you get a knock on the front door and someone says, "Hey, I know it's not much, but here's some popcorn. I was thinking about you guys, hoping you're okay." And she took time out of her day and her life to come and do this for not just us, but the police department and different small local businesses. And absolutely amazing.
If you survived, if your company is still upright 12 months later, there are a lot. First of all, pat yourself on the back, right? You made it through 12 months of probably the most challenging economic, health-related, emotional challenge of our lifetime. This is our Pearl Harbor, if you will. And it really affected every part of our lives. So if you're standing, first of all, pat yourself on the back, right? You're a success.